Invocation for Difficult Times by Elena Westbrook. When all around us voices are raised in anger, hatred spilling into the streets and sparking more hatred, sometimes the best we can do is to sink our hands into the soil. Let the fights over abstractions ebb away, flow like water into the earth. Fill your fingers with dirt that is itself the product of rocks worn to powder over millennia. Leaven with particles of other lives, lives of leaves and vegetables and other animals, once as warm and as active as you are now. Everything dies and returns to its source, breaks down into the ingredients of some new life, bits of hummus, squirming bacteria, a tiny egg. This is real. The sun warm on your back, the soil cool under your bare feet, a tiny stem that will unfurl to grow to a sweet red tomato, and the hands of a friend gently helping you to rise. Even on our most difficult days, we can touch the soil and be grateful for the earth and the love that sustains us. Please rise or in body and spirit for the hymn.
Our first hymn is actually not a hymn at all. We're going to learn a new song that's not in any book that I have ever read. It's a song that I learned from this dance company, Urban Bushwomen, under the leadership of Jawole Willajo Zoller. She took her dance company to Jamaica and did research on how Jamaican and Black people have conjured, have touched the sky, have reached their ancestors. And so this is the song that we're going to learn today. It's one line. We'll do call and response, and we'll use it to conjure up some things today. So the line is, come we just succumb, come we just succumb, we don't want no botheration, no. So try that. Come we just succumb, come we just succumb, we don't want no botheration, no. Which is just like, y'all, we are here to be together. We are here to worship, to pray, to strategize, sometimes to grieve, to hold our joys and sorrows together. Let us come, and let us just for one moment bear witness to just this. We don't want no botheration, no. It goes like this. Come we just come, come we just come, we don't want no botheration, no. Come we just come we just come, we don't want no botheration, no. Come we just come we just come, we don't want no botheration, no. Come we just come we just come, we don't want no botheration, no. Keep going. Come we just come we just come, we don't want no botheration, no. Come we just come we just come, we don't want no botheration, no. Keep singing. Come we just come, invite all the parts of us. Botheration, no. Come we just come we just come, we don't want no botheration, no. Let's do it two more times. Come we just come we just come, we don't want no botheration, no. We add some harmonies. Come we just come we just come, we don't want no botheration, no. Last time. Come we just come we just come, we don't want no botheration, no. Come we just come we just come, we don't want no botheration. Let's whisper it. Feel it in your belly. Come we just come Come, we just say come, we don't want no moderation, no. Let us worship.
So, all right, is it on? Good. Welcome to the Unitarian Church, where your senior minister turns off the microphone to make it a little more interesting. My name is Nathan. I'm one of your ministers. I'm pleased to welcome you today. If you're a visitor, we are glad that you are here. There's a membership table out there if you would like to know more about joining this church. A few things for you to know. There's a lot going on. First of all, if you have blood that you would not like in your body anymore, we have... Well, how else would you describe it? Anyway, we got officially, I don't remember, does anyone remember what the sign says out there? We are the top donor in the city of Baton Rouge or something like that. Our church, we don't know when the sign was made, but we are the most important place as it comes to blood drives in the city of Baton Rouge, according to Our Lady of the Lake. Let's not lose that status. So if you could go ahead and give blood at some point today, that would be at the thing. That would be great. Also, a thing for you to know, after this service during middle hour, we will have the social justice team. We are trying to break our record of having 25 people in there. It'll be in room 7, which is as far away from here as you can get after this service. Two more things. First is, I want you to know the slew of really good things that are about to happen. Next weekend is the installation weekend for a minister of congregational life. Online people, I'm pointing, Reverend Chris is in the kind of... To fill you in, Saturday is the oral history presentation at 2 o'clock. Then at 5:45 is gumbo and spaghetti. Do we need people to bring gumbo, or is gumbo covered?
Gumbo is covered.
It's covered. All right. You do not have to bring gumbo. It's already being brought. You just show up and put it in your mouth. Then Sunday morning, we're going to have worship with Dr. Janice Marie Johnson. And then at 3:54, we are going to install, for the 6th time in this church's history, one of our ministers. Then the week after that, we're going to have a congregational meeting. And then the week after that is our annual flower ceremony. So there is a lot of great stuff. Well, we're going to have a service on either side of the congregation meeting, but there's a lot of good stuff coming up. And we have a special guest in our pulpit today, but not just because she's an excellent preacher. So this is Reverend Sarah Dendy Green. She is from New Orleans. She does youth and young adult ministry for our association. And 2 of our own youth, who are now adults, went through the program that she was in charge of. So, but here's where it gets really good. This church is ridiculously lucky because we keep seeming to have just luck come our way. So when you moved back home, you reached out to us and said, community ministers often affiliate with a congregation. And she expressed interest in affiliating with us, which means, well, it's complicated what it means because we haven't made a covenant yet. She is not your employed or called ministers like we are. However, she is not part of you now. Does that make sense? So we are still figuring out what her affiliation looks like. We will present a covenant to you along with the 80 other ministers who apparently are affiliating with this church. But today it is very, very good that we welcome Reverend Sarah Dendy Green. We also have cards to sign. I think it's in the kitchen now, or in that little area where the food is. One we're going to send to Bruce Blaney, who is recovering from a hospitalization. And the other is news of a death we found out about that happened 2 years ago. If you would place a stone in the chalice bowl. The minister who served in New Orleans, who was affiliated with this church, Reverend Marilee Bassage, we found out that she died 2 years ago. She came to this church right after Katrina and did a lot of the relief work here and in New Orleans. So we found out we are sending a card to her husband, and anyway, we're thinking of her and her family. This ritual we have is open to everybody, visitor and member alike. Online, please type it right into the chat. We invite you to come forward either along the west or the east wall. Take a stone, let it represent whatever's on your heart, whatever you're working with, whatever's on your mind. Place it in the chalice bowl. We now invite those who wish to come forward as we place stones. And we say together, with hope to make this a better world, we light this flame. Its light is a symbol of the power of love.
Blues Opus number 946, which is to imply that this was not the first of the opuses. The St. Louis Blues. Nobody knows when you're down and out, backwater blues, lost your head blues. Tain't nobody's business if I do. Blue Spirit Blues. What stories would you tell? Jailhouse blues, young woman's blues, black mountain blues, poor man's blues, reckless blues, kitchen blues, kitchen man, mama's got the blues. To what will you testify? Wasted life blues, foolish man blues, sing, prison blues, Florida-bound blues, easy come, easy go blues, graveyard dream blues, Gulf Coast blues, dirty no-gooders blues, shipwreck blues. Which sorrows will you hold dear? To what, to whom will you wail? Honeyman blues, Beale Street mama, rocking chair blues, house rent blues, hello. Lady luck blues, hard time blues, them has-been blues, midnight blues. How long can you be in its presence? Boll weevil blues, standing in the rain blues, sorrowful blues, yodeling blues, sobbing-hearted blues. Which blues will you sing? Please join me in singing our next hymn, Holy Ground.
The Human Imagination, Searching for Grace on the Rim, Bones of Nothingness, by Reverend Dr. Emil Towns. As we take in this dancing mind, we should do so as embodied people. This is crucial for me because Black bodies are a seething presence in U.S. society. We are a society in chaos about many things, and Black bodies are only one element of this chaos, but we are illustrative of the othering that goes on in the U.S. And if we are not careful, we will develop a haute couture of venom and despair that may feel like a faithful response to evil, but is really only driving nails into a coffin of bitterness and brine that is far, far away from the new heaven and new earth that should be the vision that drives us to live a life of joy, that fills our lives and work with vibrant possibilities rather than stultifying realities. So, given the cartel of evil we deal with today, I focus on a troubling something as a window into this cultural production of evil, and perhaps one way to eradicate it: the holy and the erotic.
So every month we share our offering with a different organization. We are halfway through April, and we are sharing it all, half of it with Planned Parenthood of the Gulf South. So I will ask you to very generously, and online you can type, I think they're going to type into the chat where you can give online. Well, you can give online as well if you'd like. We are now accepting this morning's offering. The ushers, please come forward. Let's go ahead and sing.
For
Please join me in the spirit of meditation, and as it feels comfortable, I invite you to close your eyes or soften your gaze. And while you're at it, just soften everything. Find parts where your body can soften into your seat. Find the places where we can collect and hold all of our precious and weary atoms together. I invite you to draw your attention to your breath, not to fix it, but just to allow it, to welcome it, to celebrate it in this space. Inviting you to sink a little deeper, to soften a little more into the messiness of our lives, of this world that we can't help but bring here today. With a couple of more moments on our breath. Ashe. Janis Joplin writes this about Bessie Smith. She said, "She showed me the air and taught me how to fill it." Born in Chattanooga and mentored by Ma Rainey, coming up in a class of powerful blues-singing women, Bessie Smith came to be the highest paid Black performer of her time, singing the blues in juke joints and blues clubs all over the country. They called her the Empress of the Blues. What a fascinating title. We don't even call Beyonce an empress. Empress. What comes to mind when I think about empress is this grandiose kingdom. And we'll get to that in a second. But I want to begin first by putting her in contrast with another poignant poet of her own time, in contrast with Shirley Caesar, maybe a less familiar name to some of you, but I was driving years ago on the back roads of the South, and I'm committed to the radio. I was dialing, I was tuning, I was scanning, and just listening. You might consider it a form of divination. It's just what they got to say today. And somewhere, right before I was about to lose service, I heard this song, and I almost needed to pull over. The song was titled, "Satan, We're Gonna Tear Your Kingdom Down." Allow me to sing it, because I want you to experience the capture that I had experienced on that drive, that hours and hours long drive. She sings like this. Satan, we're gonna tear your kingdom down. Satan, we're gonna tear your kingdom down. You've been building your kingdom all across this land. Satan, we're gonna tear your kingdom down. I was grasped, snatched. With Bessie in conversation with Shirley, we are blessed with an intimate epistemological conversation, albeit 50, 60 years apart. But we know that time is a construct, and systems haven't really changed that much. One could argue that even though Shirley is generally placed in the gospel tradition, both Shirley and Bessie are singing the blues.
Yes.
From Shirley, we understand that her experience in the world testifies to a very particular and clear understanding of the presence of evil. And not just that evil is satisfied with meddling in its own pond, but that evil is fixed on building a kingdom that dominates land, an evil that is insatiable, an evil that is colonial and hungry. In response, 60 years prior, Bessie provides a blueprint for what is needed to be built in its stead. However, what we hear from Bessie isn't a kingdom of milk and honey. It's a kingdom built by the blues. And I need you to hear me say this, when I say that this evil kingdom of anti-trans rights and book bans and shenanigans. What are you at? Shenanigans is going to be torn down, but what will replace it is not the land of milk and honey, at least not yet. It's a kingdom built by blues. In the 1920s, as Bessie was beginning to craft this kingdom, the political shifts were mighty. It was the roaring 20s, not because of any universal politeness. It was cacophonous, and there was calamity. To be building a kingdom of the blues meant that Bessie Smith had her feet on the ground and under the ground. What she heard was that the system isn't working for not just everybody, but most people, and that those people deserved a home for their humanity, a settlement for their sorrows, a castle for their catastrophes. So as I was meditating on Bessie, another powerful woman came from even longer, Teresa of Avila, and her notable work, Interior Castles. St. Teresa of Avila was a Carmelite nun and a Spanish mystic, focused on cultivating a robust and vibrant life of prayer. And although mystics are known for sometimes their somewhat removal from secular society, I have to think that based on her work, she, like Bessie, had her feet on the ground and under the ground. As a mystic, Teresa, look, I'm talking like I know her. Teresa, or like my aunt, Therese, hearkens us to get interior and inside of ourselves. She encourages us to get inside of the messiness of our lives, inside of our desires, to get inside of the most intimate parts of ourselves, inside of our imperfections. She is perfectly clear that all of the rooms in this interior castle are holy and worthy. And in fact, you don't even get to the kitchen, the good part, the gumbo, until you have gone through all of these rooms. As a blues musician, Bessie calls people to settle down into the upset, down into the bellies. Bessie calls people to settle down into being under time. Hold that note, under time. To settle down under the note, under the lyrics. To settle down under and beneath the music.
I find that it is not helpful to put the holy and the erotic in opposition to each other. The conjunction "and" marks the joining of these two things that I think of as natural dance partners with each other. The holy expresses both radical transcendence and radical immanence in coming to know the power of the divine in our lives. It reminds us that we are held in the grand design of God's mercy and grace and rocked with the love that will not let us go. The erotic expresses the passionate engagement we must have with life as disciples of the holy, the divine. It reminds us that we are to live life fully engaged with the world around us, its rhythms, its hopes, its disappointments, its promises, and it sometimes calls us to be downright ornery in working for the new heaven and the new earth, which, for me, is another way to say justice and another way to accept God's embodied grace in life and living. It is to move toward intellectually and spiritually dancing into a new future, a place and a space that embodies grace as we live our lives, a place and a space of deep joy, a depth of which a thin human imagination cannot contemplate or execute.
St. Teresa of Avila writes, "There is a secret place, a radiant sanctuary as real as your own kitchen, more real than that, constructed of the purest elements, overflowing with the 10,000 beautiful things, worlds within worlds, forests, rivers, velvet coverlets thrown over feather beds, a wine cellar offering an intoxication so sweet you will never be sober again, a clarity so complete you will never again forget. This magnificent refuge is inside of you. Enter. Shatter the darkness that shrouds the doorway. Believe the incredible truth that the beloved has chosen for his dwelling place, their dwelling place. The core of your own being, because that is the most beautiful place in all of creation." That's a translation from Mirabai's Star of Interior Castles. So I just returned from the Juke Joint Festival in Clarksdale, Mississippi, the Delta, about 30 minutes, an hour from Memphis and a spit across from Arkansas. The day mapped pretty well onto what Teresa describes in Interior Castles. We arrived at 8:30 in the morning. Woo, that's early. Before anything had even began, for breakfast at Bluesberry Cafe. As we walked in, the invitation was to dial in to this place. In the Interior Castle or in the Delta, things don't just work like you think they ought to. There's no rehearsal for the worship service. You just get up. Teresa writes about the Interior Castle as a series of mansions and or ways of obtaining water, which we'll get to, but each next mansion more interior than the previous. So here we are, bearing witness to this humble blues cafe getting into gear, struggling, honestly, probably from the party the night before. Cyclical, these things are cyclical. The invitation was to dial into this moment, in this place. It was clunky. And one couple even left because it appeared to be taking too long. But this place was under time. It was as if we were in Teresa's second mansion, the one where we are invited to embrace the words of a blues song, embrace the Buddhist concept that humanity naturally clings and attaches, which produces the natural consequence of suffering. We were clinging and attaching to things, how things ought to be in this 8:30, we're hungry, I hope there's grits moment. here in live time. We were seeing this community wrestle with the text of time, of what being on time ought to look like, of what hospitality ought to appear as. We moseyed along and caught this blues duo, this blues duo at the main stage after breakfast. There were grits, thank God. Ready to sink in a little deeper at the main stage. We brought our festival chairs, our big wide-rimmed hats. We don't have time to play with sunburn anymore. We're aging, we have to worry about these things. Try as I might to sink in, to dial in, to get under the lyrics, couldn't help but notice this gaggle of dancers attempting to map swing dancing moves onto the blues. Talk about nails on a chalkboard. Friends, as I am not perfect, I was captivated by the absurdity of their attempt. While they were prancing on top of the notes and flying high above any mature comprehension of the lyrics, I was trying to settle into Teresa's third mansion, deep listening as preparation for prayer. When I finally was able to let that go, for a moment, I heard the stories of the history of songs written on back porches. I heard the rewriting of histories and giving props where props were due. He said, now, I don't know if James Brown or my grandpappy wrote this song, but my grandpappy's older. So you do the math. I heard him loosening up on his worldly attachments. I heard not possession, but an intimate belonging to this place. And then the sun set and the blues transformed yet again. We headed, after a nap, to this juke joint they call Red's. Red was sitting behind the bar. I, like a rookie move, went as you would approach a normal bar to get a thing. And no. Red said, come to me. I said, okay. Yes, sir. So we were at Red's. From the sight of the billowing smoker and the red lights when we walked in, I knew I was going to learn a lot about the blues. We settled in, only to notice those swing dancers from earlier. Now, y'all, this dance floor was not that big, and they were taking up a lot of space. Going further into the interior castle meant letting my distraction with them go. And I probably spent too much time getting distracted, then refocusing on the clacking of the drum set, then getting distracted again. When are they gonna leave? Then refocusing on the way that the guitar filled the crevices of my ears. And finally, I was able to let go of those pesky swing dancers in the blues club. Teresa of Avila uses the analogy of obtaining water and the labor involved in various methods to describe the mansion, and alongside her sort of notes and instructions on prayer. So she's talking about the mansion, and she's talking about the first mansion sort of being like pulling manually water up a well, lots of labor, very strenuous and tiring. And as you ease into each mansion, the ways of obtaining water become softer and softer and softer. And so by the time we get to the fifth mansion in the interior castle, water is running into a garden by way of a stream. For those of you for whom permaculture language or imagery resonates, it's water by way of a berm and a swale. The water is encouraged but not forced to deliver. Friends, when we start listening to the blues like this, like that water, getting to the garden, feeding our people, through berm and swale, through invitation but not request, it transforms. And we're able to come up on the other side. You see, the words were the same tales of woe from the morning, from the Bluesberry Cafe, but by going in and through and under the messiest parts of being human in this world, under the mystery and the magnificence of darkness, there is a fantastic mysticism available to us. One that harbors, quite frankly, the spirit of prayer. Only in the most interior castle of the blues, or that which we might call suffering or attachment, where we find ourselves metaphorically in a very late night, crowded juke joint, can we find what I have to believe Bessie Smith and Ma Rainey and Howlin' Wolf and so many others understood as a mansion of freedom. Before we get deeper into this, I cannot help but to invite you into some of what I experienced in that juke joint. Now, we can't get all the way there. That would not be approved. But luckily, we have other technologies. So we are going to revisit that first song we sang, Come We Just Succumb, and we are going to get in and under into this fantastic mysticism. So it's going to go probably a little longer than you feel comfortable, and that's a good thing. We're going to sing it to review. Maybe some people have come in. And then we're going to do a round. Sorry. It's got to happen. We're going to get lost. And guess what? We'll get found again. And then we'll continue. So, the song. Come, we just succumb. Come, we just succumb. We don't want no botheration, no. Come, we just succumb. Come, we just succumb. We don't want no botheration, no. A few more times like this. Come, we just succumb. Come, we just succumb. We don't want no botheration, no. Come, we just succumb. Come, we just succumb. We don't want no botheration, no. One more time like this. Come, we just succumb. Come, we just succumb. We don't want no botheration, no. Come, we just succumb. Come, we just succumb. We don't want no botheration, no. Just the side. Come, we just succumb. Come, we just succumb. We don't want no botheration, no. Yes, bass. Come on. Come, we just succumb. Come, we just succumb. We don't want no botheration. No, here comes the round. Come, we just succumb. Come, we just succumb. Come, we just succumb. Come, we just succumb. We don't want no botheration, no. Come, we just succumb. Come, we just succumb. We don't want no botheration, no. All right, let's jam. Come, we just succumb. Come, we just succumb. We don't want no moderation, no. Come, we just succumb. Come, we just succumb. We don't want no moderation. This song's gonna sing up a little bit. Come, we just succumb. Come, we just succumb. We don't want no moderation, no. Come, we just succumb. Come, we just succumb. We don't want no moderation, no. Come, we just succumb. Come, we just succumb. We don't want no moderation. Find your place in the song. Come, we just succumb. Come, we just succumb. We don't want no moderation, no. Come, we just succumb. Come, we just succumb. We don't want no moderation, no. Come, we just succumb. together loud. Come, we just come. Come, we just come. We don't want no moderation, no. Come, we just come. Come, we just come. We don't want no moderation, no. We got close. We got close. We got close. We'll practice. This side. Saint Teresa of Avila, Bessie, Reverend Dr. Emily Towns are calling us to build a new body of work. An opus of sorts that points us back to our humanity, that leads us into a deeper intimacy to the thing that is next, to that place beyond. I hear them calling us to construct our own maps where we get under the notes, where we work our way to the most interior mansion. Our work, friends, is to be constructing an opus that is a testimony to having our feet on the ground and under the ground and in between the syncopations and on the ways between our inhales and our exhales. And above signing up to experience that in some fetishization of our own humanity, there is a call to eros within the sensation of it all. Not to be floating above it, to be deeply, deeply in it. I can imagine people misread interior castles as a call for detachment, that going into the mansions calls us to see ourselves more and more into this nebulous thing we call spirit sometimes. But I actually think that she's clear as day that one must get lost in sensation, in the humanness of it all. I think her call is to gallivant in the gory remains of what a messy mess we've made of it all. To roam in the remainders of failing empires as archivist. As we sink deeper into this work, I want to invite you to consider that these walls, as Mirabai translates, are radiant sanctuaries with beautiful things, with joyful things. To fill our interior castles with beautiful things means to dare to be affected. Keeping our feet on the ground means that we get to see how people are threatening to take away our beautiful loved ones by any means necessary, and to be affected. It means we must wail and shout and pray and shake and be affected. It's convenient for us to detach. And I think we gravitate to some of those thoughts because it's easy. It's hard to remain affected, but that's the work. Because to be affected, to sing the blues and to find joy through that, is to take up residence, to move in to the most sacred interior castle. May it be so. Please join me in our last hymn, which is number 6, just as long as we have breath.
May today there be peace within. May you trust, Spirit, that you are exactly where you are meant to be. May you not forget the infinite possibilities that are born of faith, and let this presence settle into your bones and allow your soul the freedom to sing, dance, praise, and love. May it be so, and amen.